From the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Coming up on AgDay, it's not just grilling season, but crawfish boil season. See what's being done to improve the product at your grocery store. Historic flooding and no end in sight to the rain.
Right now, the river's rising about 6 inches an hour, and I'd heard reports this morning that we're going to get another 12 feet today.
Forcing producers to once again make tough decisions.
And there's no way to move from a full season to a short season without giving up that 30 bushel.
AgDay, presented by the all-new Chevy Silverado, the strongest, most advanced Silverado ever.
Good morning, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Wet weather, flooding, and severe storms continue to batter farm country, slowing planting to a crawl and pushing grain prices higher. Corn, soybeans, and wheat all in the green Tuesday following the Memorial Day holiday. Wet weather over the weekend and continued rain in the forecast, increasing the likelihood of prevent plant. The crops that do get in are expected to see yield drag due to less than ideal conditions. And speculators that had built record large bearish positions in grains are now looking to get out. The move helping drive markets even higher. All eyes remain on the long range forecast to see if it's possible to plant corn in the Midwest or maybe change what they're planting. AgDay's Betsy Gibbon joins us now with more.
Clinton, USDA's top meteorologist, says this wet weather is likely to stick around longer than Midwestern farmers want, and now farmers are faced with more decisions.
Meteorologist Brad Rippey says El Nino is not only strengthening but potentially staying throughout the growing season.
And that does mean that we expect the dip in the jet stream that has been with us for many months across the western and central states to persist. That could lead to a broad expanse of wetness continuing through the June, July, August time frame, stretching all the way from the Great Basin and much of the western U.S. through the plains, the Midwest, and into the mid-Atlantic states.
He says the only dryness and drought potential is possibly in the Pacific Northwest and the Southeast. Now agronomists say if farmers do want to plant in the Midwest, there could be a big loss with yield, switching to a variety with a shorter maturity.
When we move from a full season corn to a mid to an early season corn, as you move down that rung, you're giving up yield, whether you plant it on time or whether you plant it late like we are right now.
And that yield hit could be big, not just to the field, but to the checkbook.
When we look at our research, we look at our plots, the separation from our full season and our short season corn is almost 30 bushel. And there's no way to move from a full season to a short season without giving up that 30 bushel.
There are farmers who are moving to a shorter variety seed when it comes to maturity, but Ferry says the largest challenge with that is logistics. He says it takes a while for farmers to get the seed from farm to farm and back to the dealer, and there's an added cost to that too. Clinton?
Along with all the rain, tornadoes with nearly 500 reported across the country in the last 30 days. Multiple tornadoes touching down Monday in Dayton, Ohio and the surrounding area. The National Weather Service also reporting a large and extremely dangerous tornado touching down in the small community of Macy, Indiana. That's in the northern part of the state. And places inundated with rain, about to get even more rain. Meteorologist Cindy Clausen has more in today's crop comments. Cindy.
That's right, Clinton. Garrett Wood of Elmo, Missouri, sharing this video with us. The area is in the northwest part of the state. Garrett saying on Twitter when he took it that it was the 6th straight day of rain on already saturated soils and that there was more rain in the forecast. We're going to take a look at the wind speed forecast now, and it's going to be a bit on the breezy side in the plains as we head through our Wednesday. Notice the winds pick up just a little bit in the east, but nothing too crazy out there. As we get into the overnight hours, most areas really kind of calm down, and as we head through your Thursday, we're going to see those winds picking up again, kind of in the southern plains and a little bit over towards the Great Lakes. I'll have your national forecast coming up.
Continuing our tour of historic flooding in the U.S., the Arkansas River continues to rise, and it's expected to reach historic levels in the next 24 hours. In soaked areas of Oklahoma and Arkansas are forecast to receive even more rain. As the water moves southward, areas like Fort Smith are now seeing their own record flooding. This is video of the Murray Lock in Little Rock, which is preparing for historic flows. In Mulberry, Arkansas, Sean Brister farms crops and cattle along the Arkansas River. Water this spring has not been friendly to fields.
The rains have us really far behind anyway. I haven't even planted a soybean. I know several people have planted a little bit, but there's not very much acreage planted. There's some corn that's been planted around, but this rain's not been good for it.
And while he does have some crops in, floodwaters from Oklahoma and Kansas are now pouring down the Arkansas River.
Right now, the river's rising about 6 inches an hour, and I'd heard reports this morning that we're going to get another 12 feet today.
Weather officials say the Arkansas River has already topped its all-time record set back in 1945. Some areas and homes are being evacuated.
It's going to keep our crop from being planted on into the summer. It depends on how long they're going to hold the water here in this pool.
Putting more in the ground is starting to seem unlikely.
The later we plant, obviously our yield decreases, and at some point in time it's not worth planting. In fact, there'll probably be acreage here in these river bottoms that are not planted at all. The lower part of the bottoms that's right on the river.
He says there's still time.
On my operation, we could plant some 4th of July, although I've done that in the past and the yields are really not very good. But I've planted them and watched the fireworks from the tractor before.
In the southeast, another issue, scorching heat. Highs well into the 90s and a few 100s are expected from the Carolinas to the Gulf Coast. All-time monthly May records have already been set in some locations. Thanks, Betsy. And new crop progress numbers show the planting situation isn't getting much better. Corn now 58% planted. That's way off the 5-year average of 90%. Ohio struggling at 22%, along with Indiana, South Dakota, and Illinois. Soybeans also well off the pace. 29% is planted. The 5-year average is 66%. Trouble spots include South Dakota, Ohio, and Indiana. The issue? Continuing to be wet fields, with producers in Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, and Missouri only working a little more than a day out in the field. We're continuing to follow developments on getting a disaster aid bill through Congress. Another Republican has once again blocked efforts by House leaders to speed the $19 billion bill to President Trump's desk. Kentucky Representative Thomas Massie objected to a request by Georgia Democrat Sanford Bishop to pass the bill under special procedures requiring unanimous agreement among all lawmakers. Sanford's district economy is largely based on agriculture and was slammed by Hurricane Michael last year. Now, last week, Texas freshman GOP Representative Chip Roy blocked the bill. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has said he agreed with President Trump to further accelerate discussion towards striking up a win-win relationship at the earliest stage regarding trade between the two nations. Speaking at a joint news conference with President Trump following their summit meeting on Monday, Abe did not elaborate on the details of the agreement. The president tweeting progress has been made in trade negotiations with Japan, saying, quote, agriculture and beef heavily in play.
We are currently negotiating a bilateral trade agreement that would benefit both of our economies. Our goal is to reduce our trade deficit with Japan, remove trade barriers and barriers of all kinds, so that U.S. exports will really have a fair and very profound footing. Just over 1 week ago, U.S. beef gained full access to Japanese markets for the first time since 2003. We hope to have even more to announce on the trade very, very soon.
President Trump has been seeking a bilateral trade agreement with Tokyo since he pulled the U.S. out of the multinational Trans-Pacific Partnership Trade Agreement 2 years ago. Meanwhile, no U.S.-China trade talks have been scheduled. President Trump mentioning the trade talks with China while in Japan, saying that while China would like to make a deal, the U.S. is not ready to make a deal. As for the tariffs, the American Farm Bureau estimates the administration's tariffs will raise about $72 billion this year. That would be a new record. Tariff revenues last year were $50 billion. For the first 4 months of this year, the U.S. took in $22 billion in customs duties. That's up 78% from prior year levels. The EPA has set a deadline of issuing the year-round E15 rule by the end of the week. The rule would allow for higher blends of ethanol to be sold year-round instead of just in the fall and winter. Most observers say the EPA will get the rule done in time, but may leave out key parts that would benefit oil refiners relative to RIN reform. Grains saw big gains on Tuesday. We head to the CME for more on what's fueling the market right now. And later, making a great product even better. Look at what goes into getting crawfish to market. Ahead on Ag Day.
Closed captioning is brought to you by BASF. Grow smart with BASF. We create chemistry.
It was the ad from the Super Bowl that got the ag community fired up. Now a judge has issued a ruling on it. A Wisconsin judge is ordering Anheuser-Busch to stop suggesting in advertising that Miller Coors light beers contain corn syrup. That's according to a preliminary ruling on a lawsuit filed by Miller Coors against its rival. The judge telling Anheuser-Busch to stop using the words corn syrup in ads that compare Miller Lite and Coors Light unfavorably with Bud Light without giving more context in the ad. Miller Coors sued its rival, saying Anheuser-Busch had spent as much as $30 million on a false and misleading campaign, including Super Bowl ads. Corn, soybeans, and wheat all seeing double-digit gains on Tuesday. Here's more from the CME.
Sharply higher in the grain complex here today. We had widespread rains over the weekend, causing more flooding, causing more planting delays, and keeping farmers out of getting in and planting this corn crop. And so we've sort of hit a fever pitch now in the corn market, where we were up 14 cents on Friday. And again, fast forward to Tuesday, here up another 14 cents or so, really putting a lot of premium into this market, really trying to encourage farmers to get out and plant as much as they possibly can, and very much worried that we won't get much of this corn crop in. Even if we do get this corn crop planted, because of the higher prices that we're seeing, it's likely going into very muddy and not great conditions, and also late, which really makes you question whether the yield will be there even if we get the acreage planted. So at this point, I think we've done damage to this corn crop. The likelihood is that we won't see as big of a corn crop as what we were originally expecting. And if that is the case, that does start to change the USDA's balance sheet a little bit. As far as soybeans are concerned, sharply higher there too today. Now starting to get really concerned about getting the soybean acreage planted, because we're expecting to be way behind there too. And even wheat following along with the heavy rains causing quality concern issues, maybe cutting into yield a little bit. So the grains, it is a weather market. This market is as good as the weather forecast. If it changes, we can change very quickly as well. So keep an eye, very close eye on weather, but ultimately, there might still be some more upside potential here yet for corn. Overall, I think the cattle market has found a little bit of a bottom here. I do think there is a pretty decent upside potential, but so far what's kind of limiting that is this weather has been really slowing down this hot grilling season, this peak demand time frame. The Memorial Day weekend saw lots of rain, so maybe we didn't get out there quite as much as we were hoping. But going forward, hopefully that will start to change, and hopefully that will really bring on demand. I am still really rather bullish for domestic demand here in the United States. As far as the hogs are concerned, under pressure there too, at one point being down over the $3 mark. But we've been able to kind of come back a little bit as the day's gone on. So once again, this is Ted Seifert of Zaner Ag Hedge coming to you from the CME floor.
Your next piece of equipment is on MachineryPete.com. Search equipment from dealerships across the country to find what you're looking for. Only on MachineryPete.com.
Welcome back to Ag Day. Here with Cindy Clausen. Look at the root zone moisture map. And Cindy, we talk a lot about the wet weather and the flooding, but the southeast has been hot and dry.
Yeah, exactly. We've really been seeing that dryness showing up on the root zone moisture map, and you can see that spot on this week. And it's been extremely hot there. Temperatures in the 90s in many locations in the southeast with not a ton of rain. So we're really seeing conditions dry out there. We're also fairly dry in the southern part of Arizona. We're continuing to see dryness in much of the northwest as well. Let's take a look at our map. What can we expect today? It's going to be more of the same in parts of the Corn Belt all the way down into the plains as we see this pesky frontal system that's going to be still bringing showers and thunderstorms. Putting this into motion, you'll see more showers and thunderstorms along the warm front and the cold front that's going to be stretching into Missouri, back to Arkansas, Oklahoma, and into Texas. So watch for more potential for some stronger storms there as well. Getting into the overnight hours, showers and thunderstorms move east, but so does the front. So that's good news that we might see some light at the end of the tunnel here. High pressure starting to settle in there, but it could be a little bit more active in the east as you have a couple of frontal boundaries that'll be bringing some showers and thunderstorms to the northeast, but we still have the cold front that trails back into Texas. All right, for precipitation the past 24 hours, obviously very heavy rain in a lot of spots, really focusing this time on the northern part of Missouri into the western part of Illinois, southeastern Iowa. Also some fairly heavy rain in parts of Nebraska as well, and heading over through the eastern Corn Belt. Adding the next 24 hours, it's not good news. The same areas keep getting hit over and over again. So we're looking at some more potentially heavy rain and continued flooding in a lot of these areas. Temperatures remain hot in the southeast, where we're still seeing some 90s in play. A little bit cooler on the backside of that front, even some 50s and into the 60s. We're still dealing with a little bit of snow in the high elevations of the Rockies. Heading into the overnight hours we go, we're going to be seeing those low temperatures still mild and very muggy in the southeastern quarter of the country, mostly 40s and 50s across the northern tier of states. And heading into tomorrow, we're going to be seeing another really warm day in the southeast, very muggy there. It's mainly 60s and 70s in a lot of the north central United States, and some warm temperatures down in the southwest as well. Still have that trough in the southwest. We're going to see another trough coming into the northeast, kind of a bullseye there. Some cooler temperatures for parts of the northeast. Still some pretty warm temperatures, though, moving across the nation's midsection. Looks more zonal flowy by the time we get to the middle of next week. That's your national forecast. Now let's check on the weather where you live. Glendive, Montana, partly cloudy and warm for you today with a high of 78 degrees. Galena, Missouri, showers and storms likely for you with a high of 81. And Perry, Florida, mostly sunny and hot.
How much more will you have to pay for groceries this year? Plus, work continues to try and put an end to the battle over tomatoes between the U.S. and Mexico.
Ag Day, brought to you by Prosaro Fungicide from Bayer.
Mexico tomato growers are proposing a new tomato suspension agreement, but the Packer reports it's getting an icy reception. According to the release from Mexican tomato growers, the newest proposal builds on provisions of the prior agreement. Those include new reference prices with increases of up to 180% for expanded categories and expanding the USDA marketing order to cover all categories of tomatoes. There is also a proposal that would require submission of sales, volume, customer, and contract data for Commerce Department verification. Now, the Florida Tomato Exchange also releasing a statement saying it appreciates the Mexican growers' willingness to negotiate, but says the new plan is a step backwards. You may not be paying more for groceries this year. USDA says food prices are only expected to increase between 0.5% and 1.5% this year. If that prediction is correct, this would be the fourth year in a row with deflation or lower than average retail food inflation. Food eaten in restaurants is expected to increase between 2% and 3% this year. What would summer be without barbecue or a crawfish boil? We head to Louisiana to see what's being done to make them taste even better.
Closed captioning is brought to you by BASF. Grow smart with BASF. We create chemistry.
This past holiday weekend, if the weather held out, you likely put something on the grill. Well, in Louisiana, seafood is a favorite, both to eat and grow. It turns out the market for Louisiana crawfish tail meat is expanding, and food scientists are looking at ways to make it better. LSU Ag Center's Craig Gautreaux reports.
Crawfish at Riceland Crawfish in Eunice are raised and caught in Louisiana, but they could wind up in a freezer section of a supermarket across the country. To ensure a superior product, food scientists with the LSU Ag Center are examining processing methods and other factors that influence product quality. The orange-colored tissue with the tail meat is called the fat, and getting it to adhere to the tail meat is essential.
That's what gives crawfish its characteristic flavor, and consumers look for it, and we recognize as fat.
Watts has found the temperature crawfish are peeled plays a key role in retaining that fat.
When you have a cold crawfish, the fat will be solid and it will be most likely to remain on the tail.
Drip loss is another area Watts is studying. Drip loss is that portion of the product that seems to disappear after seafood has been packaged and shipped to market. The factors influencing drip loss are many.
It can be from processing like cooking, packaging, freezing, and thawing. The main ones that are going to affect the drip loss are going to be the freezing and the thawing.
Watts said the best thawing method for crawfish is to place it in the refrigerator overnight.
Running water and water bath is safe. However, you are abusing the product and causing an increase in that drip loss. So you are damaging the quality of the seafood.
The results of the study could influence crawfish processing facilities across the state.
As we find the results of this study, it definitely help us to make adjustments that we need to make sure that our product is healthy, it's the best quality product, and the nutritional value is at its best.
Another finding of the study indicates the quicker the product is frozen and remains frozen, drip loss is reduced. With the LSU Ag Center, this is Craig Gotro reporting.
And that's all the time we have this morning. We're sure glad you tuned in. From all of us here at AgDay, I'm Clinton Griffiths. Have a great day.